This week, three new WWE champions were crowned, and I've decided to go through all of the current WWE champions on the main roster and figure out who I think will be dethroning each and every one of them. Now, obviously, I'm not the most in tune with everything going on right now. I am trying to watch more often, but for the moment, this is what I know. I'm not saying I'm completely unknowing of everything, but I'm not watching every single show for 3 hours in a row, I'll say that much. We're going to get started at the tippy top with your WWE Champion, Cody Rhodes. I think this one is probably one of the more obvious swings here, and I think he will be dethroned by John Cena. I don't think this one is particularly outlandish to say. There are still your votes out there, Orton, Owens, etc., etc. But those guys, they're on one storyline, and Cena versus Cody with Cena winning seems like the right thing to do. Because then later on down the line, Cody can win it back and cement himself as that guy for this generation. How long he'll wrestle, we'll see. He's already like 37. But that's what they're trying to do here with him beating Cena, hopefully clean. So I understand what they're going for. Cena gets his 17th and is able to walk off into the sunset once he loses the belt. I don't really have to elaborate much. Normally, I would go long for the main world titles, but I really just don't have that much to say. So let's move on to the next world title, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, currently held by Gunther, who I think will lose to Jey Uso. Yeah, we're rocking with Mania 42 all the way here. Jey Uso getting crowned at Mania would be a great moment on night one, and it is definitely looking like we're going to see babyface crazy win on night one, heel crazy win on night two with your men's world titles. This is what I expect to see here. We're going to do just a run it back of WrestleMania 40. Why did I say 42? I meant 41. Sorry. We're rocking with WrestleMania 41, not 42. That would be a while away. That's a crazy reign, but it's Gunther, so that wouldn't be surprising. Back to what I was saying. We were rocking back to Mania 40 here and having Gunther in long reign lose his belt to promising babyface who doesn't win belts all that often. And that's what we're doing here with Yeet Man Jey Uso, although he does have a little bit more character than Yeet, if you didn't know, because that is his entire character. Shocking, I know. We move on to the WWE Women's World Heavyweight Championship, recently won by Io Sky, who I think will lose to Bianca Belair. Yes, Mania 41 is going to be nuts. There's going to be a billion title changes, and this is one of them. I think, Mania 41, both men's world titles are likely to change hands, and I think the women's on Raw will also do the same, mostly because of the fact that Bianca Belair is undefeated at WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure she's 4-0, and yes, technically she lost on the pre-show once, but that doesn't count. It's the pre-show. So she is undefeated. She's 4-0. It might be 5-0 now, and this will make her 5-0 or 6-0 either way, because Bianca ain't losing at Mania. And I know you want to run the Bianca Jade storyline, but Bianca won the Elimination Chamber. She has to fight Io. It's not like we can pivot away from that unless Triple H does some more nonsense to somehow be like, Bianca Belair has changed her vote. She doesn't even want to go for the world title anymore. She just wants to attack Jade Cargill. Naomi. What am I talking about? It's going to be Jade and Naomi and Bianca and Io. Oh, my head. They're all getting mixed up in my head. It's this hat. This hat is compressing my brain and mixing them all up in my head. So basically disregard most of what I just said. Bianca Belair, Jade and Naomi have their own thing. They're busy, so we can leave Bianca to herself to win the world title from Io Sky. Is the likelihood that Rhea Ripley is also in this match? Probably. However, either way, I still think it'll be Bianca reigning true at the end of the day, potentially by pinning Rhea, because sometimes they just do that for fun. We will see where this ends up going. On to the other women's world title on SmackDown, currently held by Tiffany Stratton, who I think will, in a while, lose to Alexa Bliss. I didn't really think that anybody on the women's SmackDown roster had a particularly good chance of beating Tiffany Stratton. People like Nia Jax, that's who she beat for it, so I don't think they're going to run that back. Like, Mania is going to be weird. She's already against Charlotte, and no one really wants to see Charlotte win, so I'm kind of taking this pick both as a leap of faith and as I don't really know who's going to beat Tiffany for this belt. But Alexa is likely to be a heel later on down the line. She's basically a babyface right now, but I have a feeling she's going to be corrupted by the Wyatt Six once they get back, and maybe give them a world title for some credibility reasons, as they are technically on SmackDown. So Alexa Bliss wins the world title from Tiffany Stratton. We will see where it goes from there. Is she a little bit washed? No, she's just been out for a while. So stop saying that. People are saying that. Alexa Bliss is not washed. She's a little ring rusty because she's been out for like 2 years with a child. shut up. On to the men's mid-card titles, starting off with Braun Breaker. This is the exact same prediction as I had the last time I made this video, which was in like December last year. Sheamus. Again, basically just a leap of faith at this point because Sheamus will likely never win the belt. But I'm saying this in hopes that he can rather than hopes that he actually will, or belief that he actually will. On to the men's other mid-card title, the U.S. title, currently held by L.A. Knight. If you didn't say yeah, unsubscribe. I'm not kidding. Okay, I'm kidding, guys. I actually need subscribers. I wouldn't want to separate the bond here. So actually, do subscribe if you're not, because losing subscribers is not good. So here, I'm gonna do it again, and if you say yeah this time, you got to resubscribe. You get it? Okay. L.A. Knight. All right, I'm hoping you said yeah there because I don't want to be losing any subscribers anytime soon. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The men's U.S. title currently held by L.A. Knight, who I think will lose to Jacob Fatu. I wasn't really thinking about who he could realistically lose to, but rather I was reading something on Twitter about who he could have a really good match with. And guess who came up on that list? Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu, he's hella good. Someone needs to have a good long run with the women's, goodness, that too, but the men's U.S. title, and I think Jacob Fatu is your guy to do it, if not LA himself, so get Jacob a nice fun run with the belt. Jeez. On to the women's mid-card titles now, starting off with Chelsea Green and the Women's United States Championship. I guess I saw it in my presenter view and just was attached to talking about this one. I'm not really, in actuality, because I think it's going to be Piper Niven. I'm not saying that because either woman is bad. I'm just saying because I think it's a bit of a predictable way to go. Chelsea Green has had approximately 7 billion matches against Michin over the course of the past couple of months, and I hope that once she doesn't have a match against Michin, it will be against her teammate in Piper Niven, who will win the belt at WrestleMania to give her a nice, fun moment. We will see where this goes with Chelsea's cabinet and her being like the leader of the United States or whatever nonsense she's running on SmackDown. But either way, I think Piper Niven will be the backstabber of the cabinet. Chelsea will be Julius Caesar, and Piper and all the rest of them will be the other Roman senators. We move on to the other women's mid-card title, which didn't exist when I made my last video. Lyra Valkyria and the women's IC belt. This, I think, will be won by Ivy Nile, not for any particular reason, other than the fact that Chad Gable was yapping about, if you guys don't have all the belts when I come back, I'm going to be mad, and they're probably going to run with that angle. Now, you could do the opposite, where none of them end up winning titles, but I think they're going to roll with a easier method of doing it, have them all win belts, have Chad be happy, but when he comes back to them, they all turn on him for being like against the group or some sort of nonsense. But they turn babyface. It's not like Chad's turning heel here. We'll see him turn face a little bit later on. Back to the main subject, Ivy Nile is a pretty good wrestler, very small for that matter, and I think her mixing with the high flying of Lyra and the technical work of herself could work really, really well. We move on to the belts nobody cares about, with Dragon Lee as the Speed Champion, Apollo Crews, because I didn't bother changing it from last time, and Candice LeRae as the Women's Speed Champion. Kairi Sane. I low-key forgot who I put because I care that little about these belts. Move on to the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships, because I'm not calling them by their long-ass name, currently held by the War Raiders, who I think, as I mentioned earlier, will lose to the Creeds. Not for any particular reason, other than the Chad Gable and Ivy Nile and American Made thing I mentioned earlier, so yeah, that's about it. That's all I got to say. It's just American Made's winning all the belts on Raw. Move on to the SmackDown Tag Team titles, currently still held by DIY, who will be won by the current number one contenders for the belts, Pretty Deadly. I think Pretty Deadly have been around and not pushed long enough to finally get pushed. Because in the Triple H regime, if you are an NXT star, you have 2 career paths once you hit the main roster. Now, they both start the same way. You hit the main roster, right? Do not do anything on the lineup for what feels like eternity, and then it branches. Either get released for no reason, or start winning titles or being a title contender. Sometimes along this branch, it splits back into this branch for no particular reason. It just happens. It doesn't go the other way, that's for sure. So Nevertheless, I do think Pretty Deadly have been around on the main roster long enough to have finally earned a title shot for themselves. Then we will move on to one of the final belts we're going to be covering. Matter of fact, the final belt we're going to be covering, the Women's Tag Team Championships. Now, I thought long and hard about the Women's Tag Team Championships. I went through everybody on Raw. I went through everybody on SmackDown. I went through my previous predictions. I went through who they're feuding with and who they've had matches with recently. And what I came up with was, I have no idea. I genuinely cannot predict anybody to beat them for the tag team championships. And that is not to say that they are powerhouses that are never going to lose. It's not like it's Jordan Grace and Zarya as tag team champions. No, it's simply because nobody cares. Personally, I don't care. Liv Morgan, she's doing great. Raquel Rodriguez is not good. But the problem with Liv Morgan, because back to her, because she's the important one, she is very good at what she does, but she is an annoying champion. And I'm not saying that as in, oh, her character work is good because she's supposed to be annoying. No, I'm saying that because all of her title reigns feel very similar. Because tell me this isn't a Liv Morgan title reign, other than that weird one in 2022. We don't talk about that one. But it's, she wins the belts, whatever. She wins matches while not looking strong every single match, until the match where she actually loses the belts when she decides to wrestle correctly. There you go. That's a Liv Morgan title reign for you. I have summarized basically all of them. Now, she has been getting much better in the ring, and props to her for that. She carried the Women's Elimination Chamber. Who am I kidding? She was one of the best parts of the Women's Elimination Chamber. She didn't carry it. And I cannot deny that she's talented, but she also is with A, Raquel Rodriguez, A, and B, is just all in all someone I personally don't find interesting as a champion. It's kind of like when Bianca Belair is champion, because you know her reign's going to be the same thing as it always is. Although if she does do what I said she would, and beat Io Sky for the title, I do think that could be interesting now with the Jade Cargill and Naomi thing that's going on. So we'll see where that ends up going. However, personally, I find her and Liv's reigns to be very similar in a sense of, you know, kind of how they're going to go. So I don't find them any different from prior reigns. Liv Morgan could have had 3 different women's world title reigns and I wouldn't have known because they're all the same. I'm pretty sure she had 2. And I think she only had 1. But I feel almost certainly that she had 2 reigns with the belt. But I don't know why I think that. It's because she always has felt like she's been a champion, or she's been top of the card. So it's just really weird how she's booked, that I just don't understand her not as a character. I understand her as a character, but I don't understand her as a champion. So, as I said, I could not pick anybody for this selection. I'm going to say Kaden Carter and Katana Chance because I don't know, but that's what I put last year anyways. So, I'm going to put them, but for real, I have no idea. So that's all of my championship predictions. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Make sure to let me know down in them comments down below. Make sure you have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning, good dawn, good dusk, whatever. Make sure to watch any former or future videos on this channel. I don't have any cards with me to leave you with today, but I will leave you with a player, Michael Penix Jr. of the formerly of the Washington Huskies, now plays for the Atlanta Falcons. Boo. Make sure you have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning, good dawn, good dusk, whatever. Make sure to watch any former or future videos on this channel. I understand that I said that twice. And goodbye.